The interpretation of narratives is to some extent subjective because everyone can experience art differently. At the same time, using literary analysis, we can still objectively explain the most reasonable meanings that the artist meant to convey or that the audience is likely to understand. To understand the themes of any work of art, however, spoilers are involved. Heavy spoilers. So consider this your spoiler warning. There are many things to praise when it comes to Hollow Knight, but after finishing the game, what stuck with me more than anything was its subtly told story. What did the endings mean? In order to answer this question, I went back through the game, did research on game wikis, looked up relevant passages in the Bible, and thought long and hard before finally coming up with this answer. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, is Hollow Knight a gospel story? Theme 1. Created a worship. The story of Hollow Knight takes place in a world of bugs, where every character is some type of bug. However, not all bugs are equal. The first theme we want to explore is that the bugs of Hollowness were created to worship the Pale King. The story of Hollow Knight begins with an elegy to the King of Hollowness. Written by Monomon the Teacher, the poem honors the creator of the kingdom, the Pale King, as the god who redeemed the bugs. In other words, the Pale King gives the bugs intelligence and free will. Bugs of Hollowness become different than other bugs because they are greater than their savage souls and base instincts, thanks to the Pale King. Is this really a parallel to the Bible, though, or is this a stretch? Hollow Knight contains many phrases that mean little to non-Christians, but are very meaningful to Christians. As the knight explores the King's Pass, a lore tablet uses a lot of important Christian words. The tablet says that the words are for the higher beings, the bugs that are no longer savage, but are intelligent. Many Christian phrases appear. King and Creator, bear witness, eternal kingdom. As Christians, we too have been created as more than just creatures of instinct. Isaiah chapter 43, verse 15 calls God the Creator of Israel your King. A few verses later, verses 20 and 21 tell us that God formed people for the purpose of declaring his praise. The second major theme in Hollow Knight is that of the corruption of free will and desire. The primary source of conflict in the game stems from some ancient mystical plague known as the infection. Outwardly, the infection is signified in the art by orange liquid and gaseous emissions, as well as unusual orange growths. The coloring is striking and is used to make it very obvious which bugs are infected. The Kingdom of Hollowness is slowly ruined as the inhabitants find themselves fighting this inevitable infection. The infection affects bugs physically, making them stronger and more powerful in many ways. However, it is soon revealed that the source of the infection is not actually physical, but internal. The bugs become infected through their dreams. The motif of dreams is used throughout the game to introduce the idea of the corruption of free will. Many points in the game reference hopes and dreams that the citizens of Hollowness have. The Hunter's Journal explains that the infection influences and even dominates the wills of bugs through planting desires and false hopes in the bugs. That is to say, dreams. Many of the bugs are enslaved when they trade their free will for power. Although many try valiantly to resist the infection, such as the Mantis tribe, what becomes clear is that everyone slowly or quickly succumbs to the corruption of the infection. The infection enslaves the will. No tricks seem to stop it because it originates from deep inside of them, from the corruption of their desires in their dreams. The twin motifs of dreams and infection powerfully convey the idea of the corruption of free will. When playing this game, this immediately brought to mind the Christian concept of sin. Even though sin is not a literal sickness, it is a figurative and spiritual one which leads to our eventual doom. Like the game, sin influences us by twisting our legitimate desires into corrupt ones. As the apostle says in Romans, "For I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Now if I do what I do not want, I agree with the law that it is good. So now it is no longer I who do it, but the sin that dwells within me. For I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is, in my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing. Now if I do what I do not want, it is no longer I who do it, but the sin that dwells within me." Romans chapter 7, verses 15 to 20. Like the dreams and the infection, our flesh nature is something that influences us, causes us to do things we do not wish. It enslaves us, and it originates from deep inside of us. Nothing can stop it from overcoming us and corrupting our desires, because the flesh nature is deep inside, a part of us. The third theme that the game seems to convey is that of sacrifice over hollowness. The titular Hollow Knight, according to the memorial in the City of Tears, has made a sacrifice to save Hollowness, although initially what this sacrifice is unclear. Slowly, it is revealed that the Pale King chose to create hollow vessels to contain the infection. In the Abyss, a cutscene is given where the king states, "No mind to think, no will to break, no voice to cry suffering, born of God and void. This statement shows that the Pale King intended to create children who are vessels with no desires and wills of their own. This serves the dual purpose of not being able to be corrupted by the dreams and the infection, and also not being able to resist being sacrificed as a prison for the infection. The Pale King calls him a pure vessel, with the idea that purity is hollowness, a lack of desire that cannot be corrupted because there is no desire. However, this ultimately fails because the Hollow Knight develops an attachment to the Pale King, a will of its own, that is then corrupted by the infection. The player character, the Knight, is the opposite of that. Dialogue with NPCs such as the White Lady suggests that the Knight has resolve, a will to save the kingdom. The Knight is more than hollowness, more than a vessel. Instead, he consciously chooses to sacrifice himself to save the kingdom. In the bad endings, we see that the Knight again cannot truly contain the infection because he also has desires that can be twisted. In the good ending, however, the Knight uses the dream nail to fight a dream or a spiritual battle with the radiance, the source of corruption. In the book of Romans, Paul says that Jesus choosing to die to save us is God's love for us. For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die. But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans chapter 5 verses 7 and 8. In the same way, the game Hollow Knight suggests that salvation from corruption of desire cannot come from hollowness in a Buddhist detachment from desire. There will always be some attachment. Instead, it must come from a resolve to sacrifice oneself for the sake of others, like Jesus did. Hollow Knight is a fun and very challenging Metroidvania that is a surprisingly spiritual experience, and it seems to see itself as such as well. It is clear that Hollowness is supposed to be a kingdom with a creator king that formed its bugs to worship him. It is ruined by the corruption of desires and infection, and only the child of the creator of the kingdom, one who willingly sacrifices himself, can bring an end to the source of corruption. When I finished the Dream No More ending, I was moved because I instantly thought, this is the gospel. And that ultimately motivated me to make this video. That's all I have for you guys in this video. Until next time, bless you guys.